and welcome to another episode of The Word for Kids. I'm Jamie, and I'm guiding you through the book of Exodus in a series of 20 episodes. Last time, we talked about how God provided for his people in the wilderness by sending manna, which is bread, from heaven each morning, and quail, which is meat, each evening. The people had special rules about how much manna to collect and how much they were allowed to take. Some people did not follow the rules and wound up with gross bread filled with bugs. And the people continued to grumble and argue, complaining to Moses that their lives were so miserable they would have been better off to stay in Egypt as slaves. When they were thirsty, God told Moses to strike his staff on a rock, and from it came a spring of water, and the people had plenty to drink. And that's where we left off. Do you think the people will be content now? It's time to find out what happens next. Are you ready for today's adventure? Let's go! On the first day of the third month, after the Israelites left Egypt, they came to the desert of Sinai. So it had been 3 months since they left Egypt, and when they arrived in the desert of Sinai, they camped in front of the mountain right there in the desert. Moses went up to God, and the Lord called him from the mountain and told him to say to the people, "You yourselves have seen what I did to Egypt, and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession. Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." God was reminding the people of the many miracles he had performed in Egypt that helped them escape their slavery. He was also telling them they needed to continue to trust him with their lives and their future. To show they trusted God, they needed to obey the commands he gave them. Moses told the people everything God had said. When they heard this, they all responded together, "We will do everything the Lord has said." So Moses took this answer back to God. God told Moses he would come to him in a dense cloud. The people would be able to hear him speaking with Moses and would put their trust in the Lord. The Lord also told Moses to have the people get ready. They were to wash their clothes and be ready for him to come to them on the third day. There were strict rules about where the people and animals could go. No one was allowed to touch the mountain at all for 3 days until they heard the ram's horn, which sounds like a trumpet. On the third day, there was thunder and lightning, and just as God said would happen, a thick cloud covered the mountain, and there was a loud trumpet blast. Everyone in camp trembled, which means they were shaking in fear. Moses led the people out of the camp to the foot of the mountain to meet with God. Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because the Lord descended on it in fire. The smoke billowed up from it just as it would from a furnace in those days, or like smoke from a chimney today. The whole mountain trembled violently. The trumpet sounded louder and louder. Moses called to God, and he answered him. He told Moses to come to the top of the mountain and meet him, and Moses did this. God told him, "Go down and warn the people so they do not force their way through to see the Lord, and many of them perish. Even priests who approach the Lord must consecrate themselves, or the Lord would break out against them." Moses said to the Lord, "The people cannot come up Mount Sinai because you yourself warned us, put limits around the mountain and set it apart as holy." The Lord then told Moses to go and bring Aaron up with him, but no one else. The people must not force their way through to see the Lord, or he will break out against them. So Moses went down to the people and told them all God had said. And that's where the story ends for today. This episode is a big setup for what happens next. What do you think God has to say to Moses and Aaron? What do you think will happen? We'll find out more next time, but for now, it's time for the word of the day.
Today's word of the day is covenant. A covenant is a promise or an agreement. Covenant.
A covenant is a promise between two people, or in today's story, a promise between God and his people, to do what they say they will do. For example, we have the covenant of marriage today. A man and a woman promise to love and take care of each other their entire lives. We talked about covenants in the book of Genesis also. Remember, God made a covenant with the people that he would never flood the earth again. And God made a covenant with Abraham that he would have many descendants and that his people would have the land God promised them. In those days, the people had to offer sacrifices and offerings to remain in covenant with God. But in the New Testament, we learn all about Jesus Christ, who allowed us to enter into a new covenant with God. It's through Jesus that we can have a personal relationship with God without climbing a smoky mountain or offering sacrifices on an altar. I'm so thankful to have a God who keeps his covenants, his promises, with his people. And that leads us perfectly into today's verse to remember. Today's verse is Exodus 19:5 through 6a. Now, if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession. Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. One more time. Now, if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession. Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Exodus 19:5 through 6a. That's all the time we have for today. I can't wait to see you again soon for another episode of The Word for Kids.